Hi, and welcome to another episode of Project Bikes and Cars. What you just saw was just a few seconds of what really was probably a half an hour of me dealing with that nasty old seat. Oh my gosh. Anyway, this is part 4 of our C10 project. And if you saw the last episode, you know that we changed a lot of fluids in that. We did the oil, we did the coolant, we replaced our fuel pump. We got it to idle and not run hot, which was huge. So as we move forward, we've got an agenda. We're going to get it to go down the road and hopefully stop. Okay, let's check out what I just did. Here's our adapter. It's a hose that's 5/8 on one side and 3/4 on the other, because the heater hoses are different sizes, and helps us to bypass our heater core. The heater core over here is like a radiator that's behind that cover, and coolant circulates through it just like it does through the radiator. It heats up the heater core, and the fan blows across it and gives you heat in the cab. So that's how that works. And I've seen all kind of ways to loop it around. I kind of like the neatness of this adapter. I think it looks a lot better than just clamping it. Okay, this is where I am on this thing. I'm a little bit embarrassed that I can't get it out, but I will persevere. It is really hot here in the shop, and this is what I'm doing to try to stay cool as I sit comfortably on my bucket seat. I got to tell you, if you don't have the key, that gets to be a real pain. It's in there. We got it done. Kind of boogered up the old lock assembly, and I guess that's what you have to do. Some of you guys that know better, if you leave me a message, I sure would like to know a better way. This is not the first. This is probably not going to be the last time I deal with one of these. Well, there you go. It moved under its own power. You know, we thought it was dead. It wasn't, just in a coma. Well, I guess the next thing is going to be, let's get some brakes on here so we can take it out on the road and drive it. Can't wait for that. If you'll take something like this that spreads out like this, and you push it in here, you can push up on the little arm that's part of the self-adjusting. You push it up out of the way, and then you can grab your spoon and hear it push up like that. There we go. Okay. Be sure and put some PB Blaster right on the threads. That'll help it. Okay, a lot better, much better. Okay, let's visit this just for a minute. Here's our wheel cylinder. When hydraulic pressure is applied from the line on the back side of the backing plate here, it expands outward. It's attached to the shoes here and here. And so it pushes out, and the shoes apply pressure to the drum. Now, what I was working with to get the drum off is this paw right here that I was having to lift up on. As you can see, that it releases the gear. When you're normal stopping, this paw catches these gears and automatically adjusts the brakes to the drum. But when you want to take it off, it's a different story. You got to raise that up, roll the wheel to roll in like this, and that draws the shoes in so that you can pull the drum over the shoes, especially if there's a big groove in the drum, which is pretty common. These look pretty good. They're pretty much ready to go. Here's a tip that you may use sometime in the future. When you're getting the brake lines loose, naturally the part of the line that's metal always wants to twist and just really booger up. So if you hold it steady, I like using a tubing wrench, but most of the time a tubing wrench will still let the corners round off. So you put a pair of vice grips on there and hold it, and you cut the hose off. Then you can use a boxed in wrench, or as I did then, I cut it very close and used a deep whip. Then you're just holding the brake line, the metal part, in place while you turn the other with the big ratchet or a boxed in. That'll get it loose. Well, I did all that, and that is helpful, but then I noticed that this particular brake line was crimped, and I'll have to replace it anyway. So the fuel in this gas tank was really rotten. It was, still is, kind of a cross between dead skunk and paper mill. So we took the sending unit out, the pickup tube out, and siphoned out as much as we could. But the gas that's in there, it's not that bad. I mean, it's brown, but you can see through it, and we got it down to just at the bottom. So the theory is, if we put enough fresh gasoline in it and run a filter, then it'll probably run okay and burn out the old gas. So I'm gonna install this inline filter because we know that the gas in the gas tank, there is some of it, well, you know, it hasn't been run in years. So we're gonna take a little precaution, put an inline filter, and we got the kind that's clear so that when it starts to contaminate, we can tell. Yeah, I probably should have bought more than one. This filter is made for 2 different sizes. We're going to use the 5/16 size. That's what our line is, if I believe. And it's got an arrow for dummies right here. So it goes in this direction. There we go. Snug this up a little bit. Don't you just love new hose clamps? They're so shiny and new. Snug this one up. Okay. I like it. Okay, I just had a thought. Could be some really, you know, we put a new fuel pump on here, but I don't think that we've run the fuel pump through the old fuel line, which is not very far. It might make good sense to pump some fuel through here and get the bad stuff out before it goes into the filter, just to start with. So let's take this loose. Okay. Let's get a piece of hose, turn it down, put a bottle on it or something. I'm thinking that the remote starter is still hooked up, so I can just pump it out like this and we can watch it. I think we can. Let's try it and see. Do that. Find the remote start. Switch is not on, so it won't fire. It'll just turn over. Let's see what we get. Okay. All right, that's some old stuff there. Let's hook it back up. All right, there. If you've seen some of the earlier videos, the VIN number indicates that this truck originally came with a 6-cylinder, but yet it has what appears to be a 283. So I brought into question the Carter 2-barrel carburetor because most of the time it was a Rochester 2-barrel, and this one has this Carter. So I questioned that because I didn't know it. Having owned a 67 Impala, 2 67 Chevelles, and a 66 Chevelle, which all had Rochester 2-barrels on a 283. Very familiar with the 283. And I got in a chat room. I started looking at a chat room, and it indicated some guy that seemed to know what he was talking about said that the valve covers on here are, if the screws are straight across, then it's probably after 1959. And this one has screws instead of bolts, and they are across. And I found out in a chat room, true or not, I would tend to believe it, that 62 and 63 283s had screws instead of bolts in the valve cover to hold them down, and that 62, 63 came with Carter 2-barrels. So we have a 67 truck that somebody's put a 283 in, and we already know that we can't identify it on the pad over here because it's been, apparently the block's been decked, and you can't see what you've got. It's too close in the back. I can't get to the numbers in the back to see what it is on the block. But it starts making a lot more sense that it's a 62, 63, 283. So I'm going to pull the valve cover off again, which I don't know why I didn't think about this before, and see if there's a casting number, which I'm sure there is right here. And I'm going to get the casting number and do a little bit of research. So let's take this off and visit with it again. So I got the casting numbers off the heads, and it was 388-4520. So I looked it up, pretty common head. Looks like that's a 283 head from 1960 to 1967. So our evidence shows that our truck at one time was a 6-cylinder, 235, I guess. Not enough power. Somebody had an Impala or something, crashed it, whatever. You know what the old stories back in the day. There's a million of them. Somebody got a 283 and put it in here for obvious reasons. every time I put this old truck in reverse, I think to myself, this takes me back. Well, this is the end of part 4. We did get it to run, and we did go down the road, and it's been one of those days. But we got the brakes bled, pulled it out, drove it down the road. So now it's time probably to just pass it on to another owner. We got it out of the weeds and did all the things we could do to get it running, and that's where we are now. So I appreciate everybody that watches. The videos seem to be taking off. We have some more videos coming. I just bought a new project car, and I'll make a new video later on the week about it. I'm going to sign off for now, and I really appreciate, if you can tell, I share the space here with my buddy Mike Martindale, and he's a good guy. He's got Martindale Mobile Media Blasting. He's amazing. That machine behind us, that 12,000-pound machine, it'll do pretty much anything. Any kind of blasting, wet, dry, whatever you need. And he's a great guy. Only